are working?
Well, the fact that we can actually find ourselves in this situation, neighbor, where we are bringing high profile persons to the public declaration, right? To ensure that the public has seen that some Mickey Mouse was happening. To the fact that it's not just a high profile person, but one of the biggest institutions regionally, which is the UHII, right? To see that the system can unearth these devastating, as it stands right now, these are facts, right? And to be challenging it and to put it to the due course, neighbor, it means that it has to be working, right? It is an indication because we've never had this before. In fact, it has now have the very governance structure challenging the legal framework as well, which means for far too long we're calling for outdated laws, neighbor, and for us to update them quickly. But this probably would have been one that flew under the radar. But because of what is happening, we're seeing due diligence being done. We're seeing where the credibility is being tested. And the institution that should be enforcing accountability right throughout and transparency right throughout governance, neighbor, in our society that impacts the people are doing its job once and for all. But I want to add another thing, our caveat, neighbor.
Yes.
Because I'm not sure of what is this, what I believe we'll call it statutes of liberty that may limit MOCA and other institutions that are investigating Jack Den. If there's any limitations going as far back as 20 years for just Jack Den and the other three companies, because what I'm looking at is if we are able to do so and investigate their financial statements and everything, it simply means we should be able to have some retroactive action taking place to get back some of the monies that were taken out of the coffers for Jamaica so we can put it to good use going forward. So that's another thing I'd love to know, and I'll do some research on it to see and make 1 and 2 phone calls if I can get a few persons to assist in that manner, because that is serious. And I don't think Mr. Gordon realized by his statement of saying this has been happening for 20 years, understood the can of worms he just opened up. This is not the Jamaica back then where we won't question things and we won't act on it and we won't challenge it. This is a new day and age, Mr. Gordon. And we, the people of Jamaica, will not be letting this one go at all.
The systems are working. Of course, they can do better, neighbor. We're in the process of doing so, and the weak areas of the system. And it's a day, while it's not the way we'd want to strengthen it, it's still a day in which we should be proud to say that we're seeing
frameworks actually doing what they're supposed to do. So I'll give the Attorney General, the Auditor General, a thumbs up
for it, right? And for her to keep doing her work, because I think a lot more can be, can be unearthed, not just from this situation, but right throughout different sectors.
Yeah, let me take you, Harry. I hope I'm not being too broad here, but it has been reported that approximately 10 million
hold on, neighbor, hold on. I'm not sure what you're listening to, but we're getting some feedback from your end. Can you mute, please? Go ahead, neighbor.
Hello, Donald. Hold on there, Harry. Hello, sir. Caller, good night. Well, I'm not so sure. Can you unmute for me, Donald? Let me see what you're saying. Hello. Listen, man. I'm not so sure what's happening to Donald. Let's see. Okay, he's gone. Okay, yeah. All right, Harry. It has been reported that that approximately 10 million in duties were repaid. Now, what does repay mean? No, but well, let's stop it. Let's stop it right there. What you mean repay? How could you repay $10 million? What does repay
It
mean?
cannot happen, neighbor. Right? Because when you say repay,
when you say repay, what do you mean?
When you repay something, neighbor, it shows an act of borrowing, whether that is debt, loan, anything along that lines, right? So in essence, it signifies some level of, maybe you're returning funds, an obligation to return funds, right? Maybe a reimbursement. Some people may be more familiar with that aspect of it, right? For something you previously received.
So how did we arrive at this $10 million figure? Who determined how much was to be repaid? How did we arrive at this?
Well, based on what happened, they with the tax exemption, they would have, and I want to use what the article said, they saved $10.1 million, right? When you look at the duties that should have been paid, roughly about a little over $40 million of goods were brought in. And the tax that should have been paid over to customs, had it gone through the legitimate and legal process that it ought to have, they would have paid in duties and fees approximately 10.1 million, right? But the thing about it is that this never went through the proper channels. It didn't go through the relevant authorities, and that's where the tax exemption comes in. And under the tax exemption, UHII cannot give you a loan. They cannot let you borrow because it's not something that has the legitimate act of doing so. And as such, they're spinning it, neighbor, to say, one article says Jack then saved 10.1 million. Another one stated that they've repaid the money. But you should not have been repaying anything because you shouldn't have touched it in the first place. And repayment signifies that there's some level of agreement, neighbor. Right? But what is that agreement? Because that agreement is now illegal activity because it does not stand.
Would anything have been repaid had the Auditor General not submitted this report?
No.
Oh, no, but hold on. Oh, you mean no?
Because none have been repaid in the past. Remember, it's happening for 20 years. So had they not, get caught red-handed, nothing would have been repaid. There's no indication of it prior to. Because by the admission that this very act has been happening for a while, and you, neighbor, if it was one in which you went ahead and repay anything, you'd have also stated that. But because you're now put to the sword and come out in a defense, you're saying, oh, you repaid the money, and the blame game started to throw. It's a fail in systems, saying that's blaming customs, one part, and also under the bus. And from my understanding, in these matters, neighbor, two institutions don't get it wrong. When customs are collect the money, them not play. Right? And to point it out as well, to show you what questions the agreement. Why is it that these goods, because I'm calling them goods, machine, furniture, and whatever, goods, were simply going to the UHII, but the invoice as Jack Den's address? right? It is assigned to Jackden and their address there, not the UHII. And this
Uh-huh.
brings a question as to say, what was the agreement between the then leadership of and the Jackden group of companies?
Uh-huh.
That overall,
No.
neighbor, is one that's a damning question. It is something that both parties, right, have to come to the forefront. And not even both. I'd love to hear customs come and explain the process. I want to hear that from their side. How do they treat tax exemption and the process to it? I think they owe the people of Jamaica that process so we understand it fully. What they would have normally, done when that is brought into action, right?
Well, let's lean
And then
in.
we
Let's
also want to
lean
hear
in.
how.
Yeah. Let's lean in a bit, Harry. I'm sorry for
Go ahead,
cutting
neighbor.
you here. But critically, did repayment happen because the parties recognize an error or because scrutiny forced a response? How, how do you respond to that?
Scrutiny, neighbor. It was public
So
action
it's
and
not a repayment.
the publicity
It's
of
not
it.
a repayment then.
No, it isn't, neighbor. It is a forced action taken, right? It is to save face, as old time people would say in Jamaica, right? It is an act of you being caught and to try do damage control per se. You say it's repaid and there's an error when it comes down to the systems and a mistake made.
Yes.
But
So
then
the public then, Harry, deserve to know. Voluntary repayment suggests responsibility. Reactive repayment suggests exposure management. The public deserves to know why were the funds repaid. That's all.
of course, neighbor. And to link it, if it was a mistake, why the other three companies aren't following the same action? Why aren't they repaying something? Right? Why is it only Jack then who thinks there's a mistake and repayment being done? It doesn't add up. As Marlon Morgan said, it let me not go there. Go ahead, neighbor.
Yeah. Let's prosecute it a little bit more because it is interesting, the moderators asked for a deep dive. It's 28 minutes after 9 o'clock. Let's prosecute this a little bit more for the listeners. Here is where it gets more subtle. Because even if money is repaid, was there a temporary advantage gained? Because, Harry, if you have $10 million for me, you can do a lot with that in terms of interest, not true?
Right?
What about your
investments?
cash flow? What about your operational? What about the political benefit at the time? Because repayment restores fund, but it does not undo the opportunity gained, the advantage enjoyed, or the system weakness exposed. So the question becomes, what was gained before it was returned? Yes, and what was lost by the government while you held on to the government's money? Well, we're having a little audio. Having a little audio challenge, a little audio. Yeah, having a little audio challenge with Harry there. Yeah. You're dropping in and out, but this is riveting stuff. So I want you to position yourself, and because I'm going to throw one more question at you there, and I want you to brace yourself for it to answer. You there, sir?
I'm here, neighbor.
Yes. All right. Go ahead. Come in.
Right. So I was saying the risk involved when that money is not paid, it simply means you have lost resources. Resources that could have also helped. All right. And let me put it this way. This is money that will probably never have, add a level of tax to the people of Jamaica. Let's look at that. And with the duration that this has been happening, how many budgetary resources we've lost just through this company? How Marlon Morgan put it best, that is a stretch of road, the money, right, is a stretch of road that wasn't paved. It is a hospital that probably never get a few beds because that money can do so. Approximately one of those high-end hospital beds is roughly 250 to 300,000 neighbor, thereabout, right? $10.1 million can do that. How many, the opposition speak about houses and so on. How much of that money could have added to relief because we're still in Melissa recovery? So many things that could have gone to Ministry of Education. That could have gone to so many other areas. And if you want me to double down, that $10.1 million is something that could have been put to the increase in wage which the JTA is asking for, or teachers are asking for. So it is more than just a figure being $10.1 million. It is advantage gained illegally by a company who is competing with other companies from a private sector standpoint. It is also gaining an advantage over those companies because their principal person is in high position in governance and can utilize this status. How many other health facilities and health companies, neighbor, cannot bring in equipments in this magnitude because they can't use UHII tax exemplary status, right? So you've bumped up the company, and we preach fairness for our market. You've now also given a member of parliament an advantage in growing his wealth, right? How long? Look at the duration. If we're looking at the figure of the money, 10.1 million. Neighbor, you could have thrown that on a BOJ CD for 30 days. How many months we've been running this? About 3-4 months, or probably a little longer. And you get 6% to 8%. That is just giving people the idea as to what that money signifies. The dead figure don't mean anything, but in context, is a whole
I'm gonna
different
do
thing.
something, Harry. I'm gonna put you on the stand. I want to do this for the I'm gonna put you on the stand. I want you to swear. You have your hand on the Bible, so you have your hand on the Bible.
I'm on the digital one.
Let's suppose you were Mr. Gordon, and I'm representing the public. I'm the prosecutor. I'm gonna prosecute this case, this whole repayment matter. Mr. Well, let's give you a different name. Let's call you Mark Horton. Okay.
Anyway.
So you're Mark Horton. Okay, so Mr. Horton, when you say the funds were repaid, are you saying the system worked properly or that it failed and was later corrected? What are you saying?
From my understanding, it failed because if I'm defending myself, neighbor, right? I'm going to say it failed. right? And an error was made. But as the legislator speaking on the stand, I would say I found a loophole. I utilized my proximity to preference, my proximity to the likes of the influence, right? I found myself even strategically positioned in a manner in which I can exude my influence over a regional health institution to benefit myself, right? Because this is not one in which I'm a overall humanitarian. It benefits on the lesser end because I don't want it to look too bad. So I give people a discount. But the truth is, I'm the one benefiting at a grander scale compared to what I'm giving away. Right?
Can you, Mr. Martin, can you confirm whether any financial or operational advantage was gained during the period before the payment was made? Can you confirm?
I would plead the fifth.
What must neighbor?
Our neighbor, I'd say I don't have that information with me right now.
Oh, what a tangled web.
Harry, you could have just say I don't recall. I can't recall.
No, man. Remember, I'm the principal, you know, so I don't do the day-to-day operations.
All right, good answer.
All right, sir. So you can't answer that question.
I can't. Not at this time.
Would you want to consult your attorney and for advice?
I definitely will take that action. Because
let's move on. Let's move on then. Does the need for repayment suggest that the oversight system did not prevent the issue in the first place? If so, who is accountable for that gap?
Well, to be honest, in a neighbor, it is not just look at who, but more so, it's a them situation. Because it's more than one oversight bodies when you look at it. The UHII have their management team separate from their board and a board of directors, right?
Yes.
And they should have seen and ensured that their tax exemption status is not used for malpractice. So they failed. And now the legislator in Mr. Gordon, who is duty bound to ensure that he does not utilize his position in terms of whether it's politically or his affiliations in that way, right? So he has also failed. And then the fact that we're looking at it on a broader scale, a little extent of the blame should have place and also the customs. Here's why. If a tax exemption is activated, when you look at where these goods are being sent, they have to match a certain pattern. There's a certain requirement that has to be matched. And that matched requirement is that the goods should be going directly to the owner of that tax exemplary status. So you should not have had a turn a blind eye or not see the fact that these goods weren't going to that institution, because this is basic information, right? It's not extreme investigation. There are literally certain requirements has to be matched. So we've seen now where several, both institution and individuals, have failed to uphold the framework that is there. And as such, all of those in terms of institution and the legislator has to be, they basically have to be called into question. And right now, again, neighbor, we have more questions than answers right across the board. And I know some will be answered over time, but at this juncture, it is critical based on the questions we have.
All right. So I suggest to you, Mr. Martin. But by the way, Mr. Martin, you're a member of parliament?
I've become a member of parliament. I was elected on September 3rd.
Yes. And are you comfortable, sir, as a legislator, with a system where any financial irregularity is resolved simply by repaying after detection? You're a legislator, you're a lawmaker. Are you comfortable with such a system?
I was not questioned or brought to any board to say I'm in breach of anything, and I don't see I'm in breach of anything.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Neighbor, take it serious, no, man.
Boy, I tell you. Anyway, we're gonna have to continue this. We're gonna have to continue this. Anyway, on a serious note, though, Harry, the repayment does not cancel the fact that a benefit was already received, and I think that is a fundamental point that the people of Jamaica need to understand. Not true?
It is, neighbor, and I want to put it in a neighbor, right? And this is for Mr. Gordon and the leader that sits ahead of him. Remove the notion that this is the assassination of a character. It is not. It is pertinent questions, unavoidable questions being asked, that questions one's credibility, one's transparency, one's accountability when found in guilt. Right? And these are the things. You said that paper where them sign after September 3, neighbor, when election ended and they're going into parliament and being sworn in. I don't remember the date that it happened. But that agreement that was signed by every single member of parliament, including you, Mr. Gordon, because you never get left out. You signed it too. I have the video of you signing it as well. So don't worry. One big round table. And this is what you agreed to be an open book once you are not in your private capacity. Once you are representing the people of Jamaica, you've agreed upon accepting these terms and conditions, and the territory in which you've put yourself in acting in, these questions comes with that territory. So if you're going to play the blame game and run and hide and play victim, get your head straight.
Yeah. I'm going to take you off the stand here, Mr. Martin, and I'm going to make 3 suggestions, and I want you to comment on them as a good prosecutor would do. The issue is not whether the money came back. The issue is whether it should have left in the first place. Am I correct?
I'm listening.
No, I want you to answer. The issue is not whether the money came back. The issue is whether the money should have left in the first place. Not true?
Yes.
And if it should not have left, something went wrong before repayment, didn't it?
Something went wrong with the system, yes. That's what I know.
Yes. Okay. Secondly, the system did not correct itself. The correction came after an exposure. Is that not true?
Yes, exposure that the system failed. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Then isn't this a case of detection driving compliance? compliance rather than compliance being built into the system?
We can say so, but it wasn't brought to my attention until now. So I wouldn't have known.
I suggest to you, Mr. Martin, that that if repayment is enough, what deterrent exists to prevent future occurrences? And how does that reassure taxpayers that public systems are being protected in real time? I put it to you, sir, that this is not just about whether money was repaid. It is about whether a benefit was improperly gained, whether correction only came after exposure, and whether we are now being asked to accept repayment as a substitute for accountability. Mr. Martin, is repayment a substitute for accountability?
To say it is, because when the matter was brought to me, I sought to take the necessary action that I thought is fair and just.
Mr. Martin, did you hear the question?
I did.
Accountability.
Well, I took accountability when I found out.
No, I didn't ask if you took accountability. I'm asking if repayment is a substitute.
Well, in this case, it was the necessary action, yes. Never stop joke out the thing, man.
The verdict is with the listeners. You hear, sir? you know, Harry. I think we have proven. You see that repayment here does nothing to absolve people from guilt. As a matter of fact, it underlines the reason why something wrong has happened here.
It has, neighbor, and they all know.
Am I not correct?
Yeah, everybody who has made a comment on it from the public figure standpoint and so on, they know that is what happened, neighbor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with everything, they're just trying to put a spin and skew it and, to pretty it up as if, in Jamaica, we have a lot of system issues and, custom is known for making mishaps and all that. That is the game they're playing with. So they're playing with incidents that we may know of. They've played with weaknesses that comes with any system, some more than the others, and they try to spin it in that way.
Yeah. Harry, would you no, you put on your hat as an analyst for the Politics Plus network. Would you call for Mr. Gordon's resignation from his role as member of parliament based on all of this? Would you call for him to step aside?
Of course, neighbor. You have to. It is the right thing to do, right? And for me personally, and I'm very, very much straightforward when it comes down to these things, you know what you're getting into, right? You know the actions you've also taken are not right. They are illegal actions that were taken. They are also questionable actions, because when you look at the ethical aspect of it and you look at the morality, you know, neighbor, there's a thing that everybody have named conscience. That is the internal police that let us know when we're doing wrong, when we are gaining an advantage illegally. Doesn't matter what it is or where you are or what sector you're from. You know. And when you swear to uphold the laws of Jamaica and to govern in justice and in truth, neighbor, to ensure that you look for the best interest at heart for our people, not for your pocket, not for your party, not for your company, but for the people of Jamaica, you have to also ensure that when you fall, and if you make a mishap, then the next best thing for you to do is not try to act as if, these things can be absolved by a gesture. Because paying back the money is a gesture, Let's not fool ourselves. Right? It is also an admission of doubt. And with all of that which is said and done, you have to be removed. Because you are also now admitting to the magnitude that has been happening and the time frame, neighbor.
Yes.
So it simply means that in your private capacity, right? Even before you've become a counselor, in your private capacity, you've been doing this coercion, you've been doing this act, and you've now brought your private character into the public space, and you've not changed, which means you were always this way from day one. You were always looking to advance your unfair advantage throughout society. And for that, you aren't a character that should be overseeing anything when it comes down to the public, right? You should also not be a part of the legislative body because you're busy breaking the rules, not bending them in a lot of cases we've seen in the past. This is blatant breaking rules, and you've admitted to guilt of doing so for almost 2 decades. You have to go. It's no if, nor but, nor maybe, or when. We should wake up a morning and hear that Dennis Gordon has resigned. If not, we should have woke up, neighbor, from it. It broke, right? That the opposition leader has advised Mr. Gordon to step aside as member of parliament and look for a suitable candidate to fill the shoe, right? And to make it worse, Mr. Gordon have now attempted to perverse the course of justice and breach another thing of what I would say it's freedom of speech by the media, right? He has challenged that, knowing all well, neighbor, that he's guilty of this act, or his company is guilty of this act. So you've sought to double down to ensure that this doesn't make it to the public. You've tried to strong arm the outlet of information for the people who you should have oversee. That is not somebody you want to be a part of your legislative body. That is not somebody you want to have any form of power to wield. You aren't a character that nobody can look up to. Specifically for me, he's not a character I'd want to see my daughter looking on TV and say he's in my legislative board. Never. You aren't somebody who should be in this position, and you should do the right thing and leave. Leave with some dignity or what is left of it.
Thank you. Protecting?
Neighbor, I'm still here.
Yes, protecting. Yeah, we have 5 minutes with you. So can you just bring your closing thoughts to the program tonight before I give my final closing arguments and invite my listeners to come tomorrow, because we're going to be putting the PNP back on the stands in a brutal cross-examination in this case. You can't afford to miss it. Go ahead, protecting.
You were the prosecutor. You were the prosecutor. Harry was the man in the hot seat. I am the judge. I'll give the summation. Mr. Martin, you benefited for 19 years and you only make payment for one transaction. Throughout those 19 years, based on the documents available, you have done many importations throughout the period. In any given year, at least 3 to 4 importations. So when you add that up, it's about 80 transactions.
Your Honor, I plead guilty. I can get the 35% reduction.
The thing about this is that you serve no prison time, but it is over 80 transactions. If we were to say at least 4, let's estimate say a 4 shipment for imports per year. And it's over 80 over the 20 years. Just call it 4, it could be more. Now, just imagine, because of this report, this audit report made available to the public, it is now forcing you to have to once and for all face this matter. No. Before the building was built about 3 years ago on Lyndhurst Road, you operated from somewhere else. The business was smaller, so you were more integral in the day-to-day operation. It means that you know the different levels of the business, how the business operate. So you cannot claim that you do not know because you have staff. I can assume that many of those deals that were done by you directly. Many of those sign-offs were done by you based on the indication that we have here, based on the documentation available. So it couldn't be that you cannot agree to knowing what was taking place. You cannot blame your staff for agreements that you would have gone about and broker and have signed to. We have you in media photographs, Mr. Martin, signing agreements with your staff around you, with your partners surrounding you. So we know that you know. And we have had many of your colleagues on your political side of the aisle who have made comments in regards to the advancement and the growth of your business. So it means that they know what is happening, Mr. Martin. With all this in mind, Mr. Martin, and with all this according to the law, as a member of parliament, the court cannot decide on your future as an MP. It is the people, according to Westminster democracy, who have voted you in. And so the court cannot interfere with that aspect. But the ethics committee of your parliament, the house that you sit in, the lower house, Mr. Martin, can make such decision as to recall you based on the findings in this matter. And I'm referring to section 41 of the Constitution that makes mention of a sitting member of parliament or a sitting public official that are employed by the people, according to the Constitution, who finds him or herself embroiled in this kind of corruption, can be suggested for a recall. And recall mean your election is deemed null and void. And if you wish, Mr. Martin, the court could request on your behalf for you to get sufficient time to go hand off your company to somebody you deem fit to be at the helm of your company, if you so desire to continue or to re-enter the race as a member of parliament. Now, with this in mind, the court has decided that you have committed multiple crimes over multiple years. And the other law enforcement agency that are looking into this matter, if I'm not the judge who will sit on the furtherance of this examination, I look forward to hearing what the other judge or judges who will sit when the other investigations are done. I look forward to see what they would have concluded. Mr. Martin, I believe you were aware all along, and I believe that you informed the leader of your organization, and you did nothing because it continued, according to your words, for over 20 odd years. You didn't see anything wrong with it. Therefore, you didn't take any steps or any action to correct something that you know to be wrong. I submit that the payment of 10.1 million does not absolve you of the guilt of having committed fraud, having committed tax evasion, and you must be adjudged as guilty and your service sentence of having to deal with this publicly, and the people will decide at your next entrance to the political platform. And that's where I rest this matter.
No, sir. I tell you something. Listeners, what a
We're
summary.
we're going to appeal. We're going to appeal.
We're banned on 10 o'clock. We're banned on 10 o'clock. Let me say hi to my YouTubers. YouTubers, you can't afford to miss tomorrow. We continue to prosecute this case. Tomorrow, we're going to put the PNP on the stand. I wonder who's going to represent the PNP tomorrow. We are going to put the People's National Party on the stand tomorrow to give evidence in this case. Mr. Martin is the man. Mr. Martin, you need better defense, you know, sir.
We're going to appeal, you know, with the astute Caroline King's Counsel as my
QC.
my lawyer. Well,
KC.
the KC, because the Queen is out. We will be appealing.
Yeah. Okay. Listeners, we're gonna come back in a minute or so to wrap with my final thoughts. Please remember to send your support to the program. Moderator, you can post the information. If you like the work we do and you want to support us, please, your support is welcomed. Send us a gift for continuing this program. We'll be back tomorrow to continue this prosecution of this state, Mr. Martin versus the government of Jamaica. Your gifts are welcomed. Do I have my information here? Shafreen? Okay. Well, I wonder how we did on the YouTube channel tonight. Okay. Okay. So members of the public, let us be clear about what is before us. This is not a case built on rumor. It is not driven by speculation. It arises from a documented issue involving the use of a national benefit and the subsequent need to correct what has already occurred. The defense for Mr. Martin may point to one critical fact, that the funds were repaid. But repayment in itself does not resolve the matter. Quite frankly, it reframes it. Because the first and most important question is not whether the money was returned. The question is whether it should have left the system in the first place. And on that point, there's no ambiguity. If repayment became necessary, then something within the system did not function as intended. A benefit, whether by error, oversight, or misapplication, was realized before it was reversed. That is the starting point. The second question is one of timing and intent. Did the system correct itself, or was the correction triggered by scrutiny, by the intervention of an oversight and public attention? If it is the latter, then we are not looking at a system of built-in accountability. We are looking at a system that responds only when exposed. And that distinction tomorrow, we pick this up. And we invite you to join us, all of us, as we continue to look at this matter right here on the Hello Neighbor Show. I understand that we've been having some technical errors tonight. We'll try and sort them out for you tomorrow.